Welcome, everyone, to the Religion Unplugged podcast, your one-stop shop for religion, news, and culture. I am here with Greg Kwedar. Is that how I pronounce your name?
It's actually pronounced Kwedar.
Kwedar. Well, it's a pleasure to be with you, sir. I've got a little bit of your accolades here. You are a director, writer, and producer behind such films as Ghost Fleet, Running with Beto, Rising from Ashes, Jockey, Transpecos, and your latest film, Sing Sing, which releases in select theaters July 12th with a wider release in August. I got to see it, very much enjoyed it. Mr. Kwedar, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Joseph. It's a pleasure to be here.
Of course. Well, I guess the first big question, is briefly tell us what Sing Sing is about for those who haven't seen it, haven't heard of it, and why you were inspired to tell the story.
Sing Sing, it tells the story of one of the nation's only theater programs inside of a maximum security prison at Sing Sing in New York. The film follows the production of a original comedy that was performed for 2 nights only at Sing Sing of a time-traveling musical comedy called Breaking the Mummy's Code. This really happened. But really at its core, it's the story of a friendship between these two men, Divine I and Divine G, who could not have been more different from each other, who probably wouldn't have honestly been friends outside of this circumstance and without this program. But yet because of it, through the journey of putting on this show, became something closer than family.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And how did this come across your desk, and what was it that drew you to telling this story?
Yeah, it was a quite unlikely introduction. I've been working on this film for over 8 years. And
wow.
Yeah, I got some gray hairs now that I didn't have when I first started on. But, when I first discovered the story, I was producing a short documentary inside of a maximum security prison in Kansas. And the film was about something different. But on a tour of the facility, I passed by a cell, and there was a young man raising a rescue dog inside of his cell. And immediately in that moment, all my expectations of prison and incarcerated people were upended, because I saw in this room the healing that was happening in both directions between this man and this animal. And I was just desperate to know who else was out there doing things differently. That night in the hotel room, I literally typed into Google, who is doing things differently in prison? And this program in New York, Rehabilitation Through the Arts, was at the top of the search field. And I discovered an Esquire piece about this production of Breaking the Mummy's Code that night, and reached out to the real life theater teacher and the journalist. And that was the beginning of this beautiful journey.
That makes a lot of sense. Again, the movie it really is like about the friendship between these people who are, who are deciding, hey, while we're in prison, we're going to be part of, this theater group and it gives them a chance to, show their sides of themselves, or creative sides of themselves that they don't necessarily get to do in a situation like this. And so it's really, and again, you have amazing actors in this. One of the interesting things about it is that you do have a combination of the, of actors who I've seen in film before, like Domingo Colman. And then we also have people who, are actually real life, people who were in these programs. So tell us about that. What was that like, to have this mix of actors, of the real life people who are playing who they're themselves, who went through this program, and film actors we're used to seeing on screen?
It's a practice that I've been really intrigued by, and that I sort of witnessed through I have a creative partner named Clint Bentley, and he made a movie called Jockey a few years ago that I co-wrote and produced. And we were telling the story of jockeys on a racetrack and the community they find behind the barns. And the way we told it was at a real life working racetrack, where we integrated a few established actors with everyone else in the cast were actual jockeys and trainers, and there were moments in that movie where we created space for these jockeys to sort of speak from their own experience, and we could have rolled for hours and hours and hours. And after that, sort of combined with the awareness of this immense talent from the Rehabilitation Through the Arts alumni community, I just was like, I want to double down on this. I want to push this. How far can we push this? And there's this alchemy that happens with trained actors in film who are bringing a level of craft that can bring us into moments that only, you know, a real mastery over this process can sort of capture a deeper truth. And then you combine that with people with real lived experience, who are sharing things with you that could never have been written, but could have only been lived, you know? And it's in the alchemy of that it all lifts up into something transcendent that wouldn't happen without both of them in concert with each other.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. That's. I mean, one of the things I think was most impressed by in the movie was its, its authenticity. Is that it's such a buzzword nowadays, but
Yeah.
it does feel like that experience of you're just kind of letting the cameras roll and capturing what's there, not what you told them to put there, but what was really there. That's probably the most powerful things about the movie, how it feels to watch it.
Yeah, just like how authenticity is a word that's been so overused that it's kind of lost its meaning. One thing we actively decided not to put in front of our movie was based on a true story because we were kind of like, what does that even mean anymore? And also we feel like we've gone so far beyond that marker with what's happening within this movie because yes, it is based on a real program, an actual production that was done at Sing Sing, actual people, whose lives the story is based on, who are portraying themselves in the film. And then there are moments in the film that are totally unscripted where a question is posed and people are actually answering from their own words. So it's like, how do you classify that?
Yeah, no, that's really cool. That's really cool. What is something that really kind of surprised you because you are doing a movie where you are kind of letting something happen to you that you didn't plan. You're leaving room for that in any case. What is something as you were going through this process of making this film that you discovered or surprised you that you got to capture?
I mean, honestly, I was like surprised every day. Um, I've been doing this for a number of years, and one of the things I'm learning the longer I work in this business is sort of how I measure success. I feel like if a film only meets my vision, I sort of see it as a failure in many ways. But if it exceeds my vision beyond what I thought is possible via the collaboration with all of these artists and what they're contributing, then I view it as a success, And so I'm looking to be surprised, honestly, every day if I show up on set and do this work.
That makes a lot of sense. So I guess in my big kind of final kind of wrap up question, what this is, again, one of those obvious, kind of questions you want to pose, but what would you like most of all for the audience to take away from watching this film when they get a chance to see it?
I think there's a lot of things that we could. I'll tell you a couple of things. One, I think it's become obvious to me. It was maybe not obvious to a lot of the audience as they're coming into the movie is that I want people to see the human potential behind these walls that has the capacity for growth that can return back to our communities. These people can come home and contribute again and make our world better. There's so much, not just acting talent behind the walls. There's human talent, human capacity. Also, I want people to, celebrate the beauty of friendship, as a mechanism for personal growth and community growth. Like we make this world better together, and so to celebrate the old friends you've had forever, the new ones that come in and shake up your life in the best way. I think the movie is a testimony to that, and I want to see that celebrated more than maybe it has been. And and I want and like prison is an environment that traditionally encourages you to put walls up and masks and to wear masks to protect yourself. And yet through this process within this program, um, these men shed those masks. And I think a lot of times we put these walls up to protect ourselves from something inside of us that is really precious, but that we're afraid that if people see it, that maybe they wouldn't love us as fully. But actually, by shedding those layers and making that visible, some of the most beautiful things about us, and to see more people have courage and vulnerability, and what could open up in their lives if they take a cue from the men in this program.
Yeah, no, C.S. Lewis said that, we do create walls around our hearts in order to protect them. And the tragedy is that it works. And
Wow.
you don't actually, it becomes untouchable. And the
Wow.
only way to actually utilize and love and be loved, though, is to make yourself vulnerable. And I think that you do a great job of showing that in this movie. So everyone, go ahead.
No, no, no. That was a beautiful sentiment. Thank you for sharing that.
Of course. Everyone, go. This sounds good to you, and I think you should go see Sing Sing, which will be in select theaters July 12th. When is it opening widely?
Nationwide, August 2nd.
Go and nationwide August 2nd. So you can see if it's near showing up near you early, but if not, then it should be near you August 2nd. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today. And thank you everybody else for joining us today as well. Today we have on the great Colman Domingo. He is an actor and producer who's known for movies like Lincoln, Rustin, and The Color Purple. His new film, Sing Sing, is in theaters now. Mr. Domingo, it is a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you. Good to be here, Joseph. Hi.
Just to say for myself, it's certainly a pleasure because I've been a fan of yours ever since Lincoln, and I have to say this is my favorite role I've seen you in. This is worthy of your talents. I really very much enjoyed seeing you in the film.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So I guess the first thing is tell us about the movie Sing Sing and what attracted you to be a part of the project.
Well, it's a film about Rehabilitation Through the Arts program at Sing Sing Prison, which is it's a program that was established to, they put on plays and looking at the power of theater and how it sort of changes a person. It sort of gives you tools that you may not know you needed when it comes to whether building a project together or, opening up to have a bit more empathy as a character, finding your way through in that practice. As a theater practitioner for many years, I understand the power of theater and how it can change lives and give you a bit of catharsis and help you give words and feelings to things that may have been dormant. So it's a great use for therapy as well. And so I was approached by Greg Kwedar and Clint Bentley, my director and co-writer, about an idea they had about telling about this program that is so wonderful and how it actually works. It works so well that there's a less than 3% recidivism rate among the community. So it's something that actually works. So they had an idea about it, but they didn't know, they couldn't crack the code. And then they asked me to come along and help them crack it. And we got on some mini Zooms with myself and Clarence Macklin, who's my co-star. And we've created something that became more about brotherhood and became about our humanity and the possibility of what people can do when they do the work to rehabilitation and healing, not only for yourself, but for your community. So I think we crafted a film that does just that.
Yeah, no, it's a very beautiful film. One of the things that's interesting about it from, when you hear about it kind of from a performance perspective is the fact that there is such a mix of, different kinds of actors. I mean, obviously there's the people like yourself who have a long, filmography as a professional film actor. And then there are many of the people who are just the real life people who this movie is based on, and their acting experience is going through the RTA program. And yeah. So what was that like to work on this movie with that mix of performance experiences and styles?
I think that's exactly what it was. It became a hybrid of styles. And we had to eventually come together to form sort of our own brain trust of what this film was. Because, as a craftsman, I know that you can get your training from anywhere where there's respect for the craft. That's your conservatory. It can be Juilliard, it can be being a practitioner like me, which is working and developing my skills for years, or it could be inside the container of an industrial prison complex where you choose to find the craft. So I think that we sort of came together and sort of found in our own dance how this film lives and how the characters live. I'm someone who I'm usually cast to play more, how can I say, characters of size. I'm not afraid to be a bigger personality, but I know with what we needed here, I needed to sort of recede because I think in the nature of character, I thought it's important to play sort of the B, not the alpha dog, but the B. And because I think that's the balance, especially when it comes to my counterpart, Clarence Macklin, who I needed him to play the A. And so we had to do this beautiful dance together and find how our characters work. I mean, if anyone knows my work from films like Zola, I can play a character that has as much size as Clarence Macklin, but it doesn't make much sense with this because it needed to be the form for what needs to be expressed with character and story.
Yeah. Well, that brings me to my next question, because I had the pleasure of speaking to Divine G, and he is definitely a fascinating person and personality, an original personality, and I mean that in all positive ways. Mm-hmm. So when you were actually getting the chance to, and he does show up in the movie as a person asking for your autograph or a book, it's a great Stanley-esque cameo, but when you were meeting him, what was it that, aside from just the needs of the story, what were the things you wanted to capture from him and his essence having met him?
I think once I found out certain attributes of his, like the fact that he was wrongly convicted of a crime and then incarcerated for 25 years, and still every single day got up to go to the law library and do work to advocate for his own release and also for fellow inmates. And he would do it for nothing. He wouldn't do it for any exchange. He would say, you get liberated, you get your liberation, you do it for someone else. So I knew that he was still very hopeful, that he attached himself to this program of change. And I think it has a spiritual nature to it, which is the theater. I gleaned everything I needed to from this man. I was like, oh, here's someone who always is searching for the light, even in these dark spaces. So I think that he was moving through, and I think it takes a lot of courage and a lot of tenacity and strength to continue to attach yourself to the possibility of what can be of goodness in the world. You know what I mean? So I feel like I knew that just by talking to him and getting to know him. I didn't study him because I think that I didn't feel like that was part of my practice. I didn't ask him too many questions. Mm-hmm. I just sort of observed him and let him speak to me and get to know who he was presenting and what he was about. And so I feel like I took that in a very sort of holistic way, I think. And also to transform that and put that into a character that can live within 100 minutes of a film and have some theatrical license.
No small feat, yes.
No, you know what I mean? Yeah.
So, the movie comes out, Sing Sing comes out. It is out now. It's in theaters now, in select theaters, and it comes wide August 16th, I believe it is. I think. Mm-hmm. Yes. And
something, I don't know. Yeah.
So, okay. Yeah. So you can Google it. It's but
in your town. In your town.
What is the big thing you would love for people to know if they watch it, to walk away from?
To not be afraid of the film, because I think it can appear to be a prison film, but it's not. It's so much more impactful and bigger than that. It's about our humanity. It's about possibility. It's about, I don't know, the soul of human beings and what we're capable of when we, drill back in there and go back in there and mine what's in there. Find the love, find the light spaces, find the soft spaces, find the tender spaces. And I think that's what we all need right now. I hope that people go into the movie because they want something that makes us feel closer to each other. And I think we want that now.
Yeah, there's a line in there that's, to some degree, I'm going to butcher it, that's like, through redemption here, we're redeeming the world. And that is a beautiful thing about about the movie. So thank you so much, Mr. Domingo. This has been a pleasure. And everybody see Sing Sing. It is definitely worth the watch. I am really excited to talk today to Divine G. I am Joseph Holmes. I am with the Religion Unplugged podcast, the one-stop shop for all the best religious news and culture. But first, Divine G, he is the I want to make sure I've got this right. He is the founder of the Reformation Through the Arts project, and of course, he is his story has been now turned into a feature film with A24 called Sing Sing. So, Divine G, tell us about yourself and how you started the RTA Reformation Through the Arts project.
Oh yeah, clarification is rehabilitation through the arts. No problem. Yeah, it's rehabilitation.
That's why you're here, to tell us the true facts.
Yeah. Well, rehabilitation through the arts is a program that me, along with several other prisoners, individuals who were incarcerated. Well, we started in 1996. It was a bunch of guys who wanted to do a play. And we had a civilian, Catherine Barkins, who, assisted us with that particular production. When we completed the production, it was breathtaking. The success of that production had an impact on the audience, the population, the correction officers, everything. We knew we were on to something. We did another production called A Night of Theater. Same response, breathtaking success. After that production, we said, you know what? We got something special here. So we created a program and we named it Rehabilitation Through the Arts. And I myself, I have always been an entertainer prior to coming to prison. I know if you look at the movie, I went to high school of performing arts. I took ballet, dance, modern. I enjoyed dance. I was a fantastic dancer. Also, I was good with acrobatics. I was also good with the martial arts. I've always somewhat been an entertainer. Also, eventually, I became one of the most popular DJs in my community. They mentioned that in the movie as well, Mix Machine. So I was always really one of those really progressive kids that was really into a whole lot of entertainment stuff. So that when I kind of came across this thing with RTA, it kind of fit right in where I was supposed to be. And yes, that's me in a nutshell.
That's really cool. It's just amazing to be in a place where, you're in a place you don't want to be in, other people don't want to be in, and it can be easy to be, down and miserable. But being able to find ways to create redemption through that process, and of course, again, my understanding of your story comes, almost entirely from the movie, which was really deeply moving. But yeah, what were some of the things that most surprised you that you were seeing in the effect that this program was having on people? You said it had real impact on the people who were performing and the people who were watching. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, one of the impacts is that the direct participants, as far as those that were actually on stage and portraying actors and stuff like that, it gave guys not just something to look forward to, because in order to be with the program, you had to stay out of trouble, number one. So that made the prison safer. So the superintendents and the correction officers loved it because the guys that was involved in the program were staying out of trouble. That and foremost held the most significant. And as far as the guys in the program who had certain types of negative attitudes and pessimistic views and, resolving everything through pulling out the hammer instead of pulling out the feather, they were learning how to communicate more effectively, how to, cope with situations without always going over the top. So it was teaching individuals gradually certain life skills that was making their lives easier. Because one of the things that I come to realize about life is that if you take a dirty glass of water and you set it out and you take a clean glass of water and you ask the person which one they're going to drink, normally they're going to take that clean glass because it's visually and obviously the one you want to drink. So we would use analogies like that, show individuals, look at this. When you going out, every time somebody say something to you, you go off on the deep end, you go to the box, you got to go to solitary or this. And guys would kind of figure it out. Yeah, okay, this is working. Often I refer to myself as an RTA founding member and a steering committee as a wounded healer. I was wounded, and my mission in life was to try to heal as many people as I can. I was in prison for a crime I didn't commit, found that evidence of my innocence, man, and just could not get out. I was stuck. So I decided that, any and everything that I would do would be about making the world a better place. I'm not going to let this experience make me bitter. I'm going to make it make me better. So that when I walk out of here, I can say, okay, I lost 25 years of my life, but I gained so much by helping so many people. And I always believed that what I was doing was divinely inspired in some way. Because when I was writing those novels, because I wrote 13 novels, and people could not believe this guy's writing novels like left and right. And I knew I was divinely inspired, that God gave me a gift and I was using it. And not only using it, but I acknowledged that this was coming from a higher force that was kind of like beyond just me. And sometimes when you embrace that and when you throw that love out, it has what they call a boomerang effect. When you throw a boomerang, it goes out with a certain amount of energy, but when it comes back even harder and bigger and greater and grander. And that's what I think is happening here, man. And when we finally, because remember, when we did this Sing Sing, it took us 8 years to get it right. We went through this script, we went through that script, this version, none of it was working. Finally, we got to the point where they made it about my life, with Clarence being secondary, with Brent being another supporting component. And for some reason, it just clicked. It felt like the stars just opened up and we all felt it. We all saw it. And we said, this is it. We got it. So it's like sometimes when things, I believe that God works in mysterious ways. It's like when a divine element takes place, it. It's like some kind of cosmic connection that just happens that everybody can see that, yeah, this is it. And to this day, I'm still in awe with all the standing ovations we getting everywhere. Still shocked.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about the about God a little bit, because one of the things that's they don't focus on that aspect as much in the movie, but one of the things that is interesting about your story, as I understand, unless I'm wrong about this, like I was about the name, but is that you had a very strong encounter with God while you were in prison, and so you became like a minister when you got out. And there's a lot of your story, how you talk about your journey with helping people and healing people through the arts in very spiritual terms. So how was your relationship with God kind of impacted during that time, and how did it grow during this experience?
Like a lot of people, I grew up in a religious home. My family was Baptist, Southern Baptist, and I wasn't per se intricately involved in religion when I was young. It was, when you're young, you go because your parents go. When you're just there, you're just going with the flow. And, when I got incarcerated, for a crime I basically didn't commit, I began to look at things differently, very differently. It forces you to look at things differently. And I used to ask myself, why is God putting me through this? Because when it's all said and done, I've always, in essence, in the background, always believed that there was higher forces at play. It's there. But when I saw the theatrical elements that we were able to do, because when we first started RTA, it was just a bunch of guys that just wanted to do a play. We did one, it was successful. Then we did another, it was successful. Then the third one, we decided to make it a program, Rehabilitation Through the Arts. And we created the mission of what we were going to do. The program was designed specifically to teach individuals life skills, to show them how to engage in certain healings and all this other stuff, so that when they got out, they didn't come back to prison. That was ultimately our main goal, to use this program to make sure guys doesn't come back. And like I said, once I started writing, I just kind of felt that I was being divinely inspired, because certain ideas were just coming out of nowhere. And I had wrote 13 novels while I was incarcerated, 13 novels, and I was able to get 3 of them published from a prison cell. when you look at the movie, you'll see that I'm giving myself as me, because I appear in the movie as myself, giving myself an autograph of one of the books that I wrote and got published while I was in
That was
prison.
such a great scene.
I actually had several prisoners that used to come to me, that came to me and asked me for my autograph. So Clinton and Craig, we figured that would be a nice little touch because, it actually happened. It was
Right.
going on quite frequently. But God actually had to have had his hand in this. That's how I see it, because the way the success that we're getting, the epiphany that we all felt when we finally hit the mark on the screenplay, everybody felt the same moment. It was like, I described it as, yo, guys, I think the stars are finally lining up on us because this just feels right. And when we got those standing ovations, it kind of confirmed for us that this is working. This is we where we supposed to be.
That's fantastic. So what do you feel like is the part of the movie that best, describes the essence of what you guys were doing, that you get most excited about seeing people see? And what would you like people to walk away with having seen when they see the movie?
Wow, that's pretty hard because there's about several good scenes that I really would like to put major highlight on. But I kind of focus on Divine Eye's journey, because his arc and his journey shows what a vast majority of guys go through. They come into the program, they carrying knives, they all over the place. And then gradually, as they were involved in the program, they make that transformation. It starts clicking for them. Because all we're doing is just showing each other love, brotherhood, and community, and it becomes contagious. They start picking it up. And all it is just the spirit of God, man, which to me is love. That's the spirit of God. God is all about love. And what I would like people to walk away with is that I would love for people to develop and to acquire a deeper understanding of the full and complex humanity of people incarcerated. People are incarcerated don't mean that they're not human. And I know in my heart that every human being has the potential to change. Every human being can become a better human being if we invest in them. And I think we need to start investing in, our incarcerated population. In our program, we have a less than 3% recidivism level. Less than 3%.
That's
in
incredible.
Comparison to the 60% of the general population that comes back within 3 years. 60% of all over the US, 60% comes back. RTA, less than 3%. Now, if that's not the proof is in the pudding, I don't know what more to say.
Well, thank you so much, Divine G. The movie is called Sing Sing. It is in select theaters July 12th with a large release in August. So everybody go see that where it is in your area. Thank you so very much, sir. If people are interested in following what you do and supporting the RTA program, where can they go? Where would you recommend they go?
Well, RTA has a very elaborate website. You can go right on and you can go right to RTA's website. It's easily accessible. And as far as following me, you could just type in the name Divine G. I have actually an entertainment company, Divine G Entertainment. You just type that in and all the information is there. And actually, I do have intentions of continuing to pursue this. I think God is giving me a gift, and I'm going to use it accordingly.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so very much, sir. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is Religion Unplugged podcast for all the best religious news and culture.